Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I like to discuss how the Tories are seemingly incapable of really disowning Liz Truss's mini-budget, setting themselves powerfully against public views, and how Labour are missing the opportunity to properly exploit this. But first, for daily political commentary, please click the subscribe button so you don't miss out. So, in an interview on Sky, Conservative MP Gareth Davies, today I think it was, is asked who comes off worse in a comparison of budgets, because there's a lot of comparison between Liz Truss's mini budget of 2022 and Rachel Reeves's budget this week, which is mind-blowing. Now, you would think this question is uncomfortable for a Conservative, but, you know, it's easy to respond, isn't it? You say, look, the Truss mini budget is a mistake, and, you know, we dealt with it at the time, it shouldn't have happened, but it's not really fair to compare the mini budget from Liz Truss with Reeves's disappointing budget, you know, with an aberration. It should be easy for a Tory MP to sort of say that. Wanting to attack Reeves's budget, right, without doing something as dumb as defending Truss's budget. And yet Gareth Davies, the way he responded, now you can tell clearly he did understand. He can't just say Truss's mini budget was marvellous, obviously. And he didn't entirely have a straight face, I didn't think anyway. But he said in that comparison, Reeves's budget comes out worse. And this was such a shocking thing to say that the interviewer looked genuinely confused and had to say, hang on a minute, hold on, what? And he felt the need to really get to pin Davies down on this, on what he's just said. And Davies, again, trying to slip around it because he didn't want to say the mini budget was marvellous. You know, and he said, oh, you know, it was a mistake. But he still said that Reeves's budget comes off worse in a comparison between the two. And the interviewer could not believe what he was hearing. And the thing is, it's not a winning argument on any level. As far as Islam of the BBC has reported, the pound dropped 0.7% after Reeves's budget, right? It was anticipated that the markets would not exactly be singing and dancing, because she's borrowing about, 32 billion pounds over this parliament, when it was sort of believed they'd be comfortable with 20 billion. So she's gone over that, but she knows where the lines were, right? And of course the public because that has resulted in spending, a lot of spending, and that's what the public wanted to hear, a massive boost to public spending. But the pound dropped 0.7% as a result of it, right? In contrast, Truss's mini budget, which didn't announce, remember, anything the public wanted to hear, tanked the pound by 8%, required the Bank of England to step in with emergency measures, which led to interest rates having to jump higher than would otherwise be the case. Is Gareth Davies seriously suggesting here that the pound dropped as much as it did for Truss, because it evidently did not, that the Bank of England are going to have to step in because you can wait a few weeks if you want, but they're not going to. So the so-called party of fiscal prudence and economic competence should really be distancing itself as far as it can from Truss's mini budget at all costs. And yet they're not. Now, Labour's Darren Jones, who works under Rachel Reeves, Chief Secretary of the Treasury, was being asked about the market reaction because the papers are trying to make a hell of a lot of it. And he made the point that we've all got PTSD from Liz Truss. He said, in terms of why some people may think that a market reaction to a budget is concerning, in reality, you always get a market reaction to a budget. And he said, I quote, under Liz Truss, they sacked the permanent secretary. They ignored the independent Office of Budgetary Responsibility. They announced £45 billion of unfunded tax cuts and said that they were only just getting started. In other words, more to come. Then the market went mad, and we all know what happened then. And the fact that Jones said, we all know what happened then, because he could have detailed the fallout. He could have said, we had this. So that suggests he is confident that the public actually remember what happened next. So Labour know that the Truss mini budget is an easy stick to beat the Tories with. We can see Tory MPs running around in circles trying to, on the one hand, not say that, you know, the Liz Truss mini budget was brilliant, but on the other hand, not say it was bad either. So my question is for Labour, why don't they use this stick properly? Because Liz Truss is not even an MP anymore. There is only limited value in actually attacking Liz Truss personally. Voters are not likely to believe that she'll be leading the party again. So they will not really consider her a factor in future voting decisions, unless, of course, she somehow gets herself back into Parliament and looks like she might become the leader. But assuming that doesn't happen, she's out the picture. The public can forget about her. So I would put the emphasis not on Truss, but on her economic ideas, because they are still alive and well within the Conservative Party and at all levels. I mean, a Tory MP has effectively praised the ideas behind the budget, even if not the application, because that's what they'll usually say. Oh, the way it was done, yeah, was bad, but the actual idea was great. And what Labour should be doing on a regular basis is saying, look, the Tories want to come back to power, of course they do, in order to have another go at Trussonomics. It's like the way the Tories keep trying to hit the emergency Jeremy Corbyn button, only this time, because you put the emphasis on the ideas, not the person, it should work. I see that, speaking of that, Kemi Badenoch is trying to use the emergency Corbyn button as well. She has said this week that after the budget, oh, this is actually a Jeremy Corbyn government. It's like, it don't work. It didn't work for Johnson. It didn't work for Sunak. It's sure as hell not going to work for Badenoch when Corbyn in the election stood against Labour and won, and as a result is sitting on the opposite side of the House of Commons to them. In fact, he's sitting near the Tories in the House of Commons. But using Liz Truss or her ideas, that would work a lot better, because they are still evidently there. And that is because the Tories find it impossible to, if you tell them you want to bring back Liz Truss's ideas, yes, they'll say, oh, we didn't do it in quite the way. Okay, you want to do it different, but you want to still do it. They won't deny that. And they will not argue too strenuously at all, because their media, their members, their donors, and actually many of their MPs want it. They will say, like I say, yes, it was done too quickly, it was done not quite the right way, as Davies tried to do in this interview, but they'll tie themselves in knots, because even Truss herself has tried saying that. They will not ultimately deny that the basic premise of it was a bad thing. And Labour would do well, I think, to make sure they go in hard. Once the Conservative leader is selected, we'll find out tomorrow. I mean, I see YouGov polling that shows that although Starmer has obviously taken a big hit in the polls recently, he's still considered comfortably a better prospect for Prime Minister by more voters than either Badenoch or Jenry. So Starmer begins with a higher favourability rating, not necessarily net, but a higher favourability rating. And he needs to stay there. Hammer them with anything and everything which either divides the Tory party, because then those leaders will have to work on trying to please both sides, which never works, or split the Tories off from key voters. And I would say Trussonomics does both. Because there are Tory MPs who are sensible enough to understand that this is a mess, that the whole concept was a mess, that the public realised the whole thing was a mess. Liz Truss is probably the least popular politician in the country. And yet there's another half of the party who go, oh yeah, she was a complete fool, absolute loony, but we still want what she was trying to do. And again, splits you off from the public, because the public, Liz Truss mini budget, you're not going to resurrect it in the eyes of the public, in the eyes of voters. If they even think there's a chance that the Conservatives want to have another crack at it, they're not going to vote for them. Mind-blowing to me that Labour are not pushing this very, very hard indeed, because part of the reason they took such a hit in the polls recently is they tried to lay on too thick this idea of the Tory legacy being terrible, and because it's so terrible, you're not necessarily going to like what we do with the budget, which was mad, because there's a lot of very powerful selling points in the budget. And I think to myself, why didn't they just keep pointing out that the budget was going to be the opposite of a Tory Truss budget? Kill two birds with one stone. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please click the like button. And if you'd like to support the channel further, you can click the join button for memberships. Thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.